and other Southeast Asians
have been helping Malaysians and Southeast Asians
to speak better English.
to speak better English.
And through training thousands of Southeast Asians,
And through training thousands Asians,
I've discovered a very surprising truth.
I discovered a very surprising truth.
I've discovered that how well somebody communicates in English
I've discovered that how well somebody communicates in English
actually has very little to do with their English level.
actually has very little to do with their English level.
It has a lot to do with their attitude towards English.
This has a lot to do with their attitude towards English.
There are people out there who have a very, very low level of English and do with their attitude towards English. There are people
out there who have a very, very low level English.
Out there who have a very, very low level of English and they can communicate very, very well.
And they can communicate very, very well.
One of them that I remember was a student, a participant of mine named Faisal.
One of them that I remembered was a student, a participant of mine named Faisal.
He was a factory supervisor.
He was a factory supervisor.
English level very, very low.
English level very, very low.
But this guy could just sit and listen to anybody.
But this guy could just sit and listen to anybody.
Very calmly, clearly.
Very calmly, clearly.
And then he could respond.
And then he could respond.
Absolutely express his thoughts beautifully.
Absolutely express his thoughts beautifully.
At a very low level of English.
At a very low level of English.
Nếu như bạn đã rất nỗ lực học tiếng Anh trong nhiều năm qua, nhưng mà bạn vẫn chưa tự tin giao tiếp, thì đó.
So today I want to share with you what is so different about people like Faisal. Beautifully at a very low level of English. So today I want to share with you what is so different about people like
What is so different about people like
Faisal? How do they do it?
How do they do it?
And second of all, why is this so important not only to you,
It is so important not only to you,
but to your children, to your community, and to the future of Malaysia.
But to your children, to your community, and to the future of Malaysia.
And third of all, what's one thing you can do starting today?
What's one thing you can do starting today?
Okay. If you want to speak with that calm, clear confidence.
If you want to speak with that calm, clear confidence
that people like Faisal has. So first of all, what is so different? How do people like Faisal do it? So to answer that question, I'm going to take you back about 10 years. Okay?
I'm going to take you back about 10 years.
Okay. So I was training staff at that time. And my daughter at that time was taking piano lessons.
And my daughter at that time was taking piano lessons.
And I started to notice two really strong similarities
and I realized that
in piano lessons. And I started to notice two really strong similarities between my daughter's attitude or thinking towards playing the piano and a lot of Malaysians thinking or attitude towards English. Now, first of all, I should tell you, my daughter absolutely hated piano. Hated the lesson. Hated practicing. This is my daughter practicing piano, okay? This is
My daughter practicing piano, okay?
as good as it got.
As good as God.
This is the real thing.
The real thing.
And she dreaded going to piano lessons
And she dreaded going to piano lessons
because to my daughter, going to piano lessons,
because my daughter went to piano lessons.
she was filled with this sort of dread because
She would feel with this sort of dread
it was all about not screwing up, right?
because it's all
Going to piano lessons, she was filled with this sort of dread because it was all about not screwing up, right?
because
Dread because it was all about not screwing up,
it's all about not screwing up, right?
right? Because like for a lot of piano students,
Because like a lot of piano students,
to both my daughter and her teacher,
to both my daughter and teacher,
her success in piano was measured by how few mistakes she made.
her success in piano was measured by how few mistakes she made.
Now at the same time,
At the same time,
I noticed that a lot of Malaysians went into English conversations
I noticed that a lot of Malaysians went into English conversations
with the same sort of feeling of
with the same sort of feeling of
dread, this sort of feeling that they were going to be judged
this sort of feeling that they were going to be judged
by how many mistakes they were going to make
by how many mistakes they were going to make
and whether or not they were going to screw up.
and whether or not they are going to screw up.
Now the second similarity that I noticed was to do with self-image.
Now the second similarities that I noticed were to do with self-image.
And you see, my daughter, she knew what good piano sounded like, right? Because was to do with self-image. You see, my daughter,
My daughter, she knew what good piano sounded like, right?
she knew what good piano sounded like, right? Because we've all heard good piano,
Because we've all heard good piano.
and she knew what her level
And she knew what her level
was, and she knew how long she'd have to play for to play like that.
and she knew how long she had to play like that.
And a lot of Malaysians, I noticed,
And a lot of Malaysians I noticed
had this idea of what good, proper English is supposed to sound like.
had this idea of what the proper English is supposed to sound like.
And I see a lot of you
And what they I said like in that.
nodding, and what their English sounded like,
And what the English sounded like.
and how far they'd have to go to get there.
And how far they were to have to go to get there.
And they also felt like they were, like my daughter, just bad.
And they were also like my daughter, just
Bad piano player, bad English speaker, right?
bad piano player, bad English speaker, right?
My English not so good lah, cannot, sorry Shaya, cannot
My English not so good, cannot, sorry, cannot.
So I could see these similarities,
So I could see two similarities,
but I still couldn't figure
but I still couldn't figure out.
out, okay, what is it about these people like Faisal that are so different? Okay, what is it about these people like Faisal that are so different?
Okay, what is about these people like that are so different?
That can just do it smoothly, calmly, with confidence.
You can just go smoothly, calmly, with confidence.
And one day I discovered that answer, and
One day I discovered that answer.
I discovered it quite by chance.
I discovered this book by James.
It was a day when my computer broke down,
It was a day when my computer broke down,
and I had to go to a cyber cafe.
and I
Now, okay, it was my first
Okay, it's almost first time.
time, and I discovered cyber cafes are disgusting places.
And I discovered cyber cafes are disgusting places.
Okay, they're really gross.
They're really gross.
They're smelly, and they're filled with boys,
They're smelly and they're filled with boys.
and they're all playing noisy, violent games.
And they're all playing noisy, violent games.
They're just disgusting
Which is disgusting
places. But I had to go there, so
But I had to go.
I sit down,
So I sat down
and I start noticing this guy beside
and I started noticing this guy beside me.
me, and I become very, very interested in this guy next to me.
And I became very, very interested in this guy next to me.
Now, this guy is playing this game that
This guy is playing the game.
is basically, it's like shooting people until they die.
That is basically, it's like shooting people until they die.
And that's it, right? That's the game, right?
Yeah, right?
And I'm noticing that this guy is not very good.
And I'm noticing that this guy is not very good.
He's like, in fact,
In fact,
terrible, right?
terrible, right?
Because I'm looking and I'm seeing like a lot of shooting.
Because I'm looking and I'm seeing like a lot of shooting
And not much dying, right?
and not much dying, right?
But what really interested me
What really interested me
was behind this lousy player were three of his friends
had this lousy player with three of his friends,
sort of standing there watching him play.
sort of standing there watching him playing.
And what I really noticed
What I really noticed
was even though this guy was terrible,
even though this guy was terrible,
even though his friends were watching him, there
even though his friends were watching him,
was no embarrassment.
there was no embarrassment.
There was no feeling of being
There was no feeling of being judged.
judged. There was no shyness.
There was no sadness.
In fact, quite the opposite.
In fact, quite the opposite.
This guy's like totally focused on the bad guys,
This guy totally focused on the bad guys,
smile on his face.
smile on his face.
All he can think about is killing these guys, right?
All he can think about is killing these guys, right?
And I'm watching him and I
Watching him,
suddenly realized this is it.
and I suddenly realized
This is the same attitude
this is the same
attitude that people like Faisal have when they speak English.
that people like Faisal have when they speak English.
Just like this guy.
Just like this guy.
When Faisal goes into an English conversation,
When Faisal goes into his conversation,
he doesn't feel judged.